There was last night and there was the cold light of today. MPs and contaminated blood victims or their relatives handing in a letter to Downing Street. Last night saw a rebellion in the House of Commons despite a three-line whip.
So the ayes have it.
The Labour-led amendment tabled by Dame Diana Johnson was to speed up a full compensation scheme for those affected by the blood scandal and not to wait, as the government had said, until the final infected blood inquiry report due in March.
We're looking at February, March time anyway. So actually Sir Robert Buckland, who was a Conservative who did vote for my amendment, made it very clear that this fits actually with the government's timetable. So I'm not sure why they felt the need to have a three-line whip against an amendment which they're saying they're going to implement anyway.
Baby Jason, 4 days old.
Jason Evans' father, Jonathan, was a victim of the blood scandal, infected with both HIV and hepatitis C.
Our letter's calling for two things. The first is that the government should set up the compensation body recommended by the inquiry in April. And the second thing is to make interim payments to all bereaved families, because to date only 1/3 of bereaved families have received an interim payment, and it's created a deep sense of unfairness and injustice.
The chair of the infected blood inquiry, Sir Brian Langstaff, said compensation should be extended to parents who lost children and children who lost parents.
I could not, in conscience, add to the decades-long delays many of you have already experienced due to failures to recognise the depth of your losses.
There was no suggestion that they would call off handing in the petitions today. While they welcomed last night's vote, the campaigners have no faith, no trust in the system. And they say, quite poignantly, that it must be remembered that one victim dies every 4 days. Time, they say, is of the essence. This was the worst scandal in NHS history. Thousands infected with HIV and hepatitis C through contaminated blood and blood products. Families like Tony Ferrugia's were torn apart. His father Barry died from AIDS when he was just 37.
To be told just a few weeks after my father's death that his brother had also been infected with HIV, and then subsequently a few years later that his other brother had been infected with hepatitis C. It's had a massive impact on that family circle. Everyone's dead. Most of the families now are dispersed. I was separated from my twin brother. He was placed in care 100 miles away. We weren't reunited fully until we were 18.
Last night's amendment requires ministers to establish a body to administer the scheme within 3 months of becoming law. The government has said it will provide an update on its plans in the coming weeks.